"We're done funding your circus of a wedding to that nobody. Consider this your wake-up call," my father announced at dinner, sliding the cancellation paperwork across the table like a business termination. 24 hours later, his phone exploded with calls from the venue, the caterers, and every vendor in the city, all screaming the same thing. "Why did the owner of Everything Events LLC cancel your daughter's refund and ban you from every venue in the state?" The answer was simple, though Dad didn't know it yet. That nobody he'd insulted owned the entire wedding industry he was trying to use to control me. "Marcus isn't a nobody," I said quietly, still staring at the cancellation papers. "He's a mechanic," Mom interrupted, wrinkling her nose like she'd smelled something rotting. "Honestly, Sophia, we raised you better. The Hendersons' son is a surgeon. The Whitfields have that lovely boy in banking. But you choose, what? A man who comes home with grease under his fingernails?" I folded the papers carefully, my engagement ring catching the light. Marcus had proposed with his grandmother's ring, a simple solitaire that meant more than any gaudy diamond my parents would have approved of. "So that's it?" I asked. "You're canceling my wedding because my fiancé works with his hands?" "We're saving you from yourself," Dad said, already scrolling through his phone. "I've canceled the Ritz-Carlton, the florist, Gautier's catering, the string quartet, that ridiculous photographer you insisted on. Annie Leibowitz's protégé is ridiculous. For a wedding that won't happen?" "Yes." He pocketed his phone with the satisfaction of a man who just closed a hostile takeover. "Return the ring, end this embarrassment, and we'll discuss your future. Preferably with someone who doesn't eat a name tag at work." I stood slowly, taking the cancellation papers. "You know what? You're right. This is a wake-up call." Mom smiled triumphantly. "I knew you'd see reason. A wake-up call about who my family really is." I headed for the door. "Thank you for showing me so clearly." "Where are you going?" Dad called after me. "We're not finished." "Yes, we are." I paused at the doorway. "And Dad, check your contracts. All of them, carefully." I left them sitting there, confident in their power, oblivious to what they'd just set in motion. The 12-minute drive to Marcus's shop had never felt longer. They did what? Marcus set down his torque wrench, his face a mixture of anger and hurt. Not for himself. Marcus had dealt with my parents' snobbery for 2 years, but for me. "Cancelled everything. Called you a nobody. Said I need someone who can afford me." I showed him the papers. The Ritz-Carlton, Gautier's, the whole list. Marcus wiped his hands on a rag, that thoughtful expression I loved crossing his face. Interesting vendors they chose. The most expensive in the city. Dad loves making statements. I slumped against a workbench. "I'm so sorry. I know how hard you work to pay for your half. Sophia." He pulled me into his arms, not caring about the oil stains. "Do you trust me?" "Always." "Then let me make a call." He kissed my forehead. "Actually, let me make several calls." I watched confused as Marcus went to his office, a space I rarely entered, respecting his need for organization. He emerged with his laptop and a smile that made my stomach flip. "Remember when you asked why I work on cars when I have an MBA from Wharton? You said you loved working with your hands." "True, but incomplete." He opened the laptop, turning it toward me. "I'd also said I had some investments. Remember?" The screen showed a corporate portfolio that made my eyes water. Everything Events LLC was at the top, a company I recognized as owning half the wedding industry in our state. "Marcus, your parents just canceled contracts with my company." His smile grew. "Well, companies. Plural. That photographer they called ridiculous. I discovered her, funded her studio. Gautier's catering. I'm a silent partner. The Ritz-Carlton doesn't own their event spaces, they lease them. From me." I stared at him, then at the screen, then back at him. "You own all of it?" "Not all. Maybe 60% of the high-end wedding market." He shrugged like he was discussing the weather. "I started investing my trust fund in college. Turns out the wedding industry has incredible margins." "Your trust fund?" I repeated faintly. Did I forget to mention my grandfather founded Ashford Industries? He pulled up another screen. "The automotive empire. He always said a man should work with his hands to understand value. So I fix cars because I love it, and I own wedding venues because they're profitable. Because I saw how the industry treated couples. overcharging, under-delivering, making the biggest day of people's lives stressful for profit. He closed the laptop. So I bought them out and fixed them. Like cars, but with better champagne. I sank into his desk chair. My parents just canceled contracts with a billionaire's companies while calling him a nobody. Technically just a millionaire. The billions are still tied up in the family corporation. He knelt beside me, taking my hands. I never told you because I wanted you to love me for me, not for the fortune my parents would sell their souls for. I laughed, maybe a little hysterically. Oh my God, Marcus, they're going to lose their minds. Probably. He squeezed my hands. But first, they're going to get some phone calls. See, when someone cancels a wedding at multiple venues I own simultaneously, it triggers a very specific clause. What clause? The fraudulent cancellation clause. Designed to prevent competitors from booking and canceling to damage our reputation. He stood, pulling me up with him. Your father just canceled at 6 of my venues on the same day. That triggers an investigation, a ban from future bookings, and my personal favorite, forfeiture of all deposits. How much? About 40,000, given the places they chose. He grinned. Want to know the best part? The money goes into a fund I created for couples who can't afford their dream weddings. Your parents just funded at least 3 celebrations for deserving couples. I kissed him then, pouring all my love and amazement into it. When we broke apart, his phone was already ringing. Mr. Ashford. A panicked voice came through speaker. This is the Ritz-Carlton. We have a situation with the Phillips cancellation. Handle it according to policy, Marcus said smoothly. Full enforcement of the fraudulent cancellation clause. And Janet, flag their names in the system. All properties. All properties, sir? Nationwide, they've shown bad faith. He winked at me. We can't risk them disrupting other couples' special days. 3 more calls came in rapid succession. The florist, the caterer, the photographer. Each got the same instructions. By the time he finished, my phone was buzzing. Dad, what did you do? Mom, the venue is being completely unreasonable. Dad, they're saying we're banned from everywhere. Mom, this is your fault. Fix it now. I showed Marcus the texts. Should I tell them? Let them figure it out. He pulled me close. Though we should probably talk about the actual wedding. What do you want? You, I said simply. Just you. I don't care where or how. Liar, he smiled. You've had your dream wedding planned since you were 12. You told me on our 3rd date. Garden party, string quartet playing modern songs, classical style, sunset ceremony. You remembered all that? I remember everything about you. He grabbed his keys. Come on, I want to show you something. 20 minutes later, we pulled up to a wrought iron gate I didn't recognize. Marcus entered a code, and we drove through manicured gardens to a stunning Victorian mansion. Welcome to Ashford House, he said quietly. My grandmother's estate. She left it to me with one stipulation: it could only be used for celebrations of true love. The house was breathtaking. Gardens that belonged in a fairy tale, a conservatory dripping with wisteria, rooms that whispered elegance rather than shouting it. Marcus. She would have loved you, he said, leading me through French doors to a terrace overlooking a lake. Strong, independent, willing to stand up to anyone, including your parents. It's perfect, I breathed. But no buts. This is our venue. No contracts, no deposits, no way for anyone to interfere. He turned me to face him. Sophia Phillips, will you marry me here? Just us, our real friends, and whatever family actually supports us. Yes, I kissed him again. 1,000 times yes. My phone rang, Dad. I answered on speaker. Hi, Dad. What have you doing? His voice could have shattered glass. Every venue in the city is refusing our calls. The country club won't even discuss hosting a luncheon. Your mother's charity gala has been rejected everywhere. Oh no, I said flatly. Consequences. Fix this. Now, I don't know what strings you pulled. I didn't pull any strings. You cancel contracts at 6 venues owned by the same company on the same day. I examined my ring in the sunlight. That's called fraudulent behavior. It's our money. Was your money. Now it's going to fund weddings for couples who appreciate love more than bank accounts. This is that mechanic's doing. Mom's voice joined the call. He's poisoned you against us. Actually, Marcus said, loud enough for them to hear, I haven't done anything. Company policy is company policy. Who is this? Sophia, who's there? Marcus Ashford, he said pleasantly, the nobody mechanic. Also CEO of Everything Events LLC. You canceled contracts with my companies. The silence lasted so long I checked to make sure the call hadn't dropped. Ashford, Dad finally whispered, as in Ashford Industries. That's my grandfather's company. I prefer the wedding business. More joy, less corporate raiders. Marcus smiled at me, though I learned about hostile takeovers from the best. Thanks for that lesson, Mr. Phillips. We didn't. There's been a misunderstanding, Mom stammered. No misunderstanding. You made your position clear. Mechanics aren't good enough for your daughter. Grease under the fingernails, name tags, all that. His voice hardened. Message received. Now wait just a minute. No waiting, you canceled the wedding. We're honoring your wishes. I took Marcus's hand. We'll be married at a private venue with people who actually care about us. You're not invited. You can't? I can. I am. I looked at my ring, my fiancé, my future. You were right about one thing, though. This was a wake-up call, so thank you for that. Sophia Elizabeth Phillips. Soon to be Ashford, I smiled. Has a nice ring to it, like owning 60% of the wedding industry in the state. We can discuss this like adults. Adults don't call the man their daughter loves a nobody. Marcus's jaw tightened. Adults don't try to control their children with money. How are we supposed to know who you were? That's the point. I exploded. You should have cared who he was to me. Not his net worth, not his family name, not his investment portfolio. Marcus makes me laugh. He holds me when I cry. He fixes my car at midnight and brings me coffee exactly how I like it, and loves me whether I'm in designer clothes or paint-covered overalls. Sophia. He's kind to waiters and remembers my co-workers' names and volunteers at the animal shelter on weekends. He reads poetry and rebuilds engines and makes the world better just by being in it. My voice cracked, but you never asked about any of that. Just his bank account. Silence again. The wedding is in 3 months, I continued. You're not invited. Neither is anyone who thinks love can be measured in dollars. You'll regret this, Dad said quietly, when reality sets in. The only thing I regret is taking 26 years to see you clearly. I looked at Marcus. Goodbye, Dad. I hung up and immediately blocked both their numbers. Then, in a moment of liberation, I threw my phone into the lake. That was a new iPhone, Marcus observed mildly. I'll buy another one. With my own money from my own job that they never respected. I turned in his arms. Did I mention I got promoted? Creative director. Because unlike them, my boss judges me on talent, not my fiance's tax bracket. That's my girl, he kissed me softly. Now let's plan our actual wedding, the one we want. String quartet in the garden? Already have one in mind. They do beautiful classical covers of metal songs. Annie's protégé for photos. She cleared her calendar when I called. Gautier's catering? Actually, he grinned. I was thinking food trucks. Gourmet ones. That taco place you love, the Korean BBQ, maybe that dessert truck that does the creme brulee? You're perfect. I meant it. How did I get so lucky? Lucky? You stood up to your parents, chose love over money, and threw your phone in a lake. He laughed. I'm the lucky one. We spent the rest of the day at Ashford House, planning our real wedding. Small, intimate, filled with people who celebrated our love instead of our bank accounts. My best friend would officiate. She'd gotten ordained online specifically for this. Marcus's sister would sing. She had a voice like an angel and a wicked sense of humor. The shelter dogs would be ring bearers because why not? That night, back at our apartment, a cozy space above Marcus's shop that my parents had called depressing, we got the full story through friends. My parents had tried everything. Called in favors, threatened lawsuits, even offered to double their deposits. Nothing worked. The ban was comprehensive and devastating. Everything Events property, partner, and affiliate. They couldn't book a quinceañera in a church basement if Marcus's company had ever consulted there. They'll have to go out of state for Mom's charity gala, I mused, curled against Marcus on our second-hand couch that was more comfortable than their designer furniture. Jersey, specifically. I don't have much presence there. He played with my hair, yet. You're terrible. I'm protective. There's a difference. He tilted my chin up. They hurt you. They've been hurting you for years with their conditions and judgments, and if you really loved us, manipulations. Not anymore. I meant it. I'm free. We're free, he corrected. Partners. In everything. 3 months later, I walked down a garden path at Ashford House, barefoot in a simple dress I'd chosen myself, toward the man who saw my worth before he knew my name. The string quartet played Enter Sandman like it was Mozart. Food truck smells mixed with garden roses. Shelter puppies wore bow ties. It was perfect. It was us. And somewhere in the city, my parents attended someone else's society wedding, still banned from the best venues, still wondering how a nobody mechanic had outmaneuvered them so completely. They never did figure out that love was the only currency that mattered. But Marcus and I knew, surrounded by chosen family, building a life on something more solid than stock portfolios. I now pronounce you husband and wife, my best friend announced, by the power vested in me by the internet and the state of New York. Marcus kissed me as our guests cheered, and I thought about wake-up calls, how sometimes they come disguised as endings when really they're beginnings. My parents had canceled my wedding. They'd set me free instead.